until I know we're connected. And there we are. Welcome.
We're already soul twinsies, kindred spirits. Because if you watch my lives, I do the same thing. I'm like, hello, 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 and then I'll be like, oh, we're live. Hey.
Well, I love that. It is so good to meet you, Jennifer.
Yes.
And this is a really, really cool soul connection call because we've never met before.
Mm-mm.
We've never had a conversation before.
Mm-mm.
So we were just kind of going on faith because we had some excellent connections
Mm-hmm.
that we are, a good fit. So why don't we start with introductions? Tell me who you are.
Okay. I'm so used to being in control. I'm like, this is so different for me. First of all, thank you for having me. And I freaking love this idea because when I do connection calls with people, there's always so much juicy, good stuff that comes through. And I do interviews and I'm like, man, that would have been great for the interview. And it's so natural and authentic. So I love the idea of having this live for our connection call for the first time for people to experience it. It's going to be amazing and magical. My name is Jennifer Hart, and I am a connector and a soul guide, as I like to call myself. And I'm the creator and the founder of the Connected Soul Network, which is a best way I could describe it. I'm still like figuring out, it's so different. I'm figuring out the languaging for it. But how I could say it at a high level is it's a spiritual and personal growth development community, primarily online at this point, with one in-person event for sure, our annual Mount Shasta retreat. And that's our members meetup. And what we do is we come together and to learn, grow, heal, and achieve through events. I love to do interviews and just, connecting community and having support and people that are on the same path as you so that you can talk about all the woo-woo things and all of your spiritual experiences, because I'm going to tell you, everybody's having them, and there's a lot of closet spiritualists out there. So that's what I'm here to do, is kind of normalize it and allow people a safe space to be their woo-woo self. I can describe it.
Well, wow. It makes sense why we've been connected, for sure. For sure. Uh, Thank you for that introduction. I can already tell you're just a powerhouse.
Ooh,
And there are not many people that have, it sounds like you're a creatrix by the Stark-type definition of creatrix, which is a networker,
mhm.
brings together all of these people and ideas to build community and be a leader of communities. That's what
Yeah.
I'm hearing.
Are you familiar with the Gene Keys?
Yes. Hmm.
My Gene Keys literally call me more than a networker, a cosmic energetic force of bringing powerhouse light leaders together and communities together to like take over the world and build an empire, basically, of love and light.
Well, again, this was an appropriate connection. Thanks, Jamie and Joel,
Yes.
for this connection. So I will go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Safrianna Lughna, the Queer Spirit Guide, and I am the co-founder of Living Luna. And we are a brand that is attempting to uplift the others of the world by celebrating our differences, by understanding that our differences are our superpowers. They deserve to be celebrated, they are worthy of being celebrated. And that it's our uniqueness that actually helps us come together to do incredible things. And
Mm.
so I leverage things like the Stark type system, Body of Nine, which is literally our natural physical archetype, how our body informs us, as well as a decade of therapy experience as a therapist and therapy experience as a client, probably more than a decade if I'm being honest, because I am a lifelong learner and I believe in doing the work myself. So
Mhm.
I also now help people as a coach to get into that in themselves and show up for themselves, prove to themselves they can be loved because they are doing it for themselves. So I'm also a community builder with Living Luna because we're a network.
Mhm.
We're really trying to uplift people that are doing exactly what you're doing, right? Like companies, brands, voices, individuals, right? That just have such this beautiful mission in them that they want to get a spotlight on. And we want to get a spotlight on them because we see them being the leaders of love and light in the world. We see them saying everyone deserves a life of peace and abundance. So our missions are very overlapped.
Yes. Yes, I love that. I was just thinking as you were speaking, I was like, yes, because what I believe is that if we just focus on ourselves instead of pointing out, there's four fingers pointing back at us, and we just do the work for ourselves, it has a ripple effect on all of those around us, and your whole reality will change. And in turn, those around us are affected whether they're doing the work or not. And then the collective consciousness and love also is raised because of that. And so I want to give people a space to be able to explore themselves and the options that are out there for them. And it's kind of different what I do. I service people that I call them explorers. It's just they're on the personal journey, and then guides, they're on the business journey. And it's kind of like what you said. And this is why they connected us, is because helping the guides to be more visible and get seen and grow their businesses, there's people waiting for their services on the explorer side or even the guide side, so that we can come together and link arms. Like I always think of the Care Bears, and when we open up our light and we shine it to the world, and then the others join us, it just gets brighter and brighter. And so, yes, it's so great to be connected, and collaboration over competition always.
Thank you.
Yes.
That is so essential to everything. I'm getting a little bit of feedback, so I'm going to turn my mic on and off real quick. All right, let's see if that fixed it. I think it did. I've also been described as a Care Bear, so in many definitions of the word, including on MMORPGs, because I'm a super nerd. And Care Bear is a term for the love and light people in video games too. But yes, like I want to pull up this image. I wish I had the sketchbook with me right now and actually knew which sketchbook it was, but I have like 5,000 laying around me. But I have this drawing. I'm going to have to post about it later. It's literally these colored dots making a grid on a page. So it's my dot in the center, which is red, because that's my energy blueprint type, is red. It's my power color, we'll call it. And then there's all these spokes coming out. And the spokes are literally just like the people in my life that I impact the most. And then off of each of those are spokes coming off, and that's the people they impact the most. And very quickly, all these spokes, it's like one dot in the middle that just have all these branches coming off of it. That is my visualization of what happens when one of us is brave enough to do the healing work. It's not fun to go first. I talk about this a lot. Like, it's not fun to go first. It's not like a superiority thing. Some people just had to go first, right? Some people had to take the healing journey or the business journey or the going to college journey or whatever journey they are first on in their family or first on in their social network, right? Those of us who are doing like the healing work first, we are literally being this beacon of light that if we can impact three other people around us to do their healing work, and they can impact three other people. Taylor said, the ripple effect, right? Yes. Like it grows so much more expansive, so much more quickly. So, yes, the most impactful thing we can do is be in ourselves and heal ourselves.
Yes, I love that. And it reminds me of an Instagram reel that my friend sent me. We're always exchanging all this conscious stuff from Instagram. Thanks, Instagram. And it said that one person vibrating at a very high level on this, whatever scale, the Hawkins scale or whatever scale you're going to use, actually is the right word cancel out. I don't know that I'd use cancel out, but that's what's coming through. Like 20 people that are vibrating on the lower scale, which is why I just try to focus on myself and keeping my vibe as great as possible. Now, as you know, there's the light and the dark moments, and we have to accept them all together and be on that path and that journey, because there's the polarity of it. But it's like, I just keep that in mind, that if I can stay up here and continue to do my work, to release, to shed, to change, that I am impacting all of the people that are down here and holding the space for them to find their way, hopefully at some point, if it's in their path and their mission, to pull them up, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's not a superiority thing. It's not a like, I'm better than you because I'm trying to guide you. It's a heartfelt, I've walked this path and I see how difficult it is and I know what it is like to need support. Let me support you because I believe in you and I believe you can be that person that's going to then lift the next 20 people up. And it's this process of giving back.
Yeah.
Um, and knowing that, there's people that came before us that did their healing, that helped us get to where we are, and then we get to keep passing that on.
Yeah. Yes. I love that. I wanted to ask you, what is the Starkatype and the Body of Nine? I don't think I've heard
Yeah.
of those.
So both of them are blueprint systems. One is something you can absolutely take a quiz for. There's a quiz out there actually. The Starkatype system was created by Saoirse Claire McGovern. And she unfortunately isn't doing an active community anymore, but she does have like teachings and whatnot about the system. And basically, they're energy blueprints. There's 12, and she calls them the Council of 12. And she believes that we need to all come together with our energetic gifts and our intuitive gifts to be able to help the world get to the new earth paradigm, or whatever you want to call it. So it's a very woo archetype system that goes into your 3D and your 5D, and I love it. Like, it's a great way to get people acquainted with what kinds of clairs they might have, and just sort of like what their gifts might look like on more of a metaphysical level. Body of Nine is way more tangible and equally spiritual at the same time. And it has been probably the work that has completely changed my life. I learned about Starchetype and Body of Nine almost at exactly the same time. And that is something that I uniquely leverage in my coaching work, because I have a mastery of both of these systems basically. But Body of Nine actually teaches about our physical body vessel. We've discovered that for some reason there are 9 types of physical body vessels, and we've numbered them 1 through 9 as an easy way to share what they do, or how to describe them. And for some reason, we don't match our parents until there are more than 8 children in the family. Like, when you get to the eighth and ninth child, it will repeat the parents' numbers. But before that, you will get all of the other numbers in a family before. And that means that we come in with a nature, our body nature, because what this governs is our center of leadership in our body. There's 3 in the head, 3 in the upper torso, and 3 in the lower torso, that change how we use our eyes, how we make connection, why we make connection, how we take in information, and how we use that information. It also governs how we see our energy body versus our physical body. All our parents don't know this information. I mean, it literally changes lives when people know this information, but our parents don't know this information, so they try to nurture us according to their nature and their nurture, right? That complicated mix of trauma and experience. But when we know someone's natural, what we call natural number, their natural body type, um, we can actually communicate with them more effectively. We understand the power of different words to them more effectively. We know whether we need to give them eye contact or not to honor them and see them. And we learn a lot about how we see each other spiritually differently and the gifts we bring in community. So yeah, Body of Nine is completely revolutionary. Starchetype is like a really, really great blueprint system for just understanding people's spiritual gifts and how they sort of do 3D versus 5D. It's more of an inner thing. Um, does that make sense? Could you follow that?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm like
Very
trying to be concise.
interesting. I've never heard of either of those, or if I have, I did not realize it, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
The Body of Nine could you say that the Body of Nine is similar to human design in a way? Somewhat,
So a
not
lot
the
of
same
people
probably,
ask
but
that.
yeah.
The way I see it is the Body of Nine is like your body filter system. It's almost like the really brutal term is a meat suit. It's your meat suit, right? It's the meat suit that the soul or the energy is in. Human design, astrology, starchetype, any like personality quiz that you could ever take is more of like the inner working. It's like what's happening in the meat suit. How is all of this stuff processed once it gets in here more into the energy body? So, Body of Nine, how you use your physical body, how your body informs how you're literally showing up in the world, versus, okay, now I've taken that information in and I'm a Gemini, so, I go this way, or I'm a manifesting generator in human design, so I take the information a little this way. It's like if we were in an RPG, Yeah, I love my meat suit and all it does for me, says Taylor. Yes. Like if we're thinking about a video game, right? Like again, I'm such a super nerd. And you're going into a video game and you got to pick your race. You would pick your body type, right? Are you an orc or are you an elf or are you a a dwarf, whatever? Like, are you a 1, are you a 9, are you a 7? That would be like your preset. And then all your little like minutia details would be your human design, your astrology. Like that's really making this the individual person.
Cool. It's so interesting. I'm like, I'd love to learn more.
Yeah, it's like the cool thing about Body of Nine is that it is a scientific study at this point. They've studied over 10,000 people, or I say it's 10,000 people because I don't think they've updated since they started telling people it was 8,000 people, and we've given it out to a lot more people then. But it is one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's one of those things that you can come to understand in an afternoon. Like I'm a natural number 9. I lead from actually between my shoulder blades. My face tends to be very passive when I'm really paying attention. My eyes go kind of glossy. My vision kind of blurs. That is unique to natural number 9s. No one else knows what I'm talking about when I say that. Natural number 9s are like, oh, I know exactly. Yeah, there's like a blur filter on your vision, but you're really paying attention. Yeah, that's a natural number 9 feature. Natural number 1s tend to get really like really sharp with their eyes when they're really paying attention, like they're literally zoomed in on something. So again, the difference in how we use our eyes or how we use parts of our body is what we explore in that. So it's super useful information. Um, I'm really curious, like what are some of the modalities that you in everything that you do had studied that has helped you come like more strongly into networking and just communication?
Hmm. Okay, well, I don't know that there's necessarily modalities that I've studied. I have just shown up and did a lot of my own work.
Yeah.
And in my human design, I am an explorer myself, and my mission is to try things out and share information. And as I've learned that, I already knew these things about myself, but it just clicked and was validated. I've always been a natural gatherer, community builder, event planner since I was young. I was always bringing people together, sometimes even enemies in the same room. And I was like, wow, this is really a gift. And I love to do it. And I love to attract people and get to know people and bring them together. I mean, people have come to events that I put on and got married. Like, I didn't mean to do that, but I just hold the space for it,
I
and that
love that.
happens. And so, yeah. And then my own exploration, my own spiritual awakening. I was just in a really dull place in my life, like Groundhog's Day. If you've seen that movie, it's old, but he wakes up every day in the same scenario. It's just the same day over and over. And that's how I felt my life was. And so I was like, what am I doing? And I was at the catalyst of a couple years prior to turning 30 and coming from a small town. I had all these dreams and I hadn't realized any of them. So I made a bucket list and I was like, I want to do these 30 things before I turn 30. And I just started doing them. And so I was having fun. And with that, I was bringing people together, like going skydiving. And all these people said, I want to go. And so I'm just the person that creates the event and people will come. And then it changes lives just by, I love that 30, flirty and thriving. I'm no longer 30. I'm in the 40s now. But yes, it was. So it was like, we called it the dirty 30s. And it changed my life. It ended up being my spiritual awakening, getting out of my comfort zone, having fun while doing it. And then I look back and I go, oh, as I did this, like I ended up moving to San Diego, I ended up selling all of my stuff and just traveling around the world with no plans. I had never, I didn't go to college because I didn't want to share a bed or a room with anybody, not a bed, but a room with anyone. I was very much a homebody. And then I end up traveling the world, sleeping on people's couches from couch surfing website. Like it's crazy how much it brought me out of there. And then I started going, what's my purpose? I know I'm here for something more than just working in the corporate world. I was working in an aerospace company and I love what I learned there now and the experience that I had. But at the time I was just so unfulfilled because I was like, God, I know I'm meant for more. And the journey, I remember going to an intuitive and she's like, I can't tell you what your purpose is because they literally showed me a blank screen. That means that you have to live it to figure it out. And
Mm.
so it all makes perfect sense now that all the work that I've done, just exploring different modalities and healers and intuitives and traveling and all of these things has come together to where I am today. And now I just created what I needed to support myself while I was there in my personal life and in my business, because it was kind of lonely when I was waking up. I stopped going out to parties and bars, and yeah, I was into like space and woo-woo stuff and the multiverse and past lives and intuitives and mediums, all these different things. And then there was crickets, like, okay. And but the universe brought me new people, right, as I transitioned.
Yeah.
And now a lot of people are coming back into my realm. They're waking up also. And so, long story long, I don't have any like
No, good
specific
one.
training. It's my own life lived experience paired with just my gifts from the universe and my gifts that I've had since a child, and now bringing them together. So I hope that answered your question.
It did, and more. No, that was such a good share. Like, one of the things that if I could go back and change, this is very radical to say. If I could go back and change, I would not have bothered going to college and pursuing a lot of the specific training that I've gotten. I would have taken a very different path, a much shorter path to doing what I'm doing now, right? I've been a public school educator. I was a trauma therapist. Like, I have all these degrees and certificates and credentials, like they're just stacked a mile high. And where have they gotten me? They got me into a lot of debt. They got me into a lot of boxes where people said this is how you have to be. You got to check these lists. You're not allowed to exist as your own self beyond this room, right? And both of those careers. So I think it is beautiful because I can tell, like, you are super intelligent. You clearly know how to move people through a transformational process. You know how to make powerful connections. Like, you clearly have all these gifts. And so even my question, like, what modalities do you love or whatnot, right? That can be seen as like, am I looking for a credential? No, I want to know your experience. And so I'm glad you answered it that way, because it just shows that that question, even in of itself, can become kind of problematic. Like, can we instead ask, what experience do you bring to the table? Because there is educational experience, but there's also lived experience. And I have both, right?
Yeah.
But neither is necessarily more valuable. I think the lived experience tends to be more valuable, if I'm being
Yes.
perfectly honest.
Yeah, it depends. So a couple comments. I love that you said about the college thing, because I felt the same way. But I think that I'm having a new view on it, because there is a lot of benefits to going to college. But I was like, God, I wish I wouldn't have gone to college. I don't even use it. But I don't know. It did serve a purpose in a lot of ways. I had
Yeah.
fun while I was in college. It took me a long time, but I got it done. So I did learn, about writing and some other stuff. And I was like, I think I would have learned more traveling. Like, I love the European way of going to travel first, because I literally feel like I retained more information and knowledge on my travels to all these different countries, and getting the immersion experience rather than learning about it in a textbook, where I really just memorized things. And I was a good test taker and I was a good memorizer. And that's why I got good grades. But you ask me anything from school, I can't tell you. It's my lived experiences. But I do think there's a place for college in a lot of ways. Like, I don't know, the whole society thing is very interesting and messed up at the same time, and helpful, like, all together, right? It's just this
Yeah.
smorgasbord of stuff. What I do want to talk about, it's so crazy you did this. I'm like, am I supposed to tell this story? So I told this story recently, and I made a post about it actually. And it was literally that I decided that I wanted to pursue I was calling it the Creative Soul Sessions. And I wanted to put on this workshop after doing all of these workshops, programs, seminars, studies, healing for myself. I wanted to give it to others. And I went to this place, checking out different places I could hold this event. And the lady goes, "Great. So what makes you qualified to do this?" And I know that it was just a question, kind of like you just asked. And I shut down. I answered her question in the moment, and I came home and I said, "I'm not good enough to do this. I don't have any training. Like, And I do think there is room for training there, like your trauma therapist, like you know how to handle situations where I'd have to learn in the moment, and maybe I'm not ready for something, but maybe I am, right? And so it totally shut me down, and I just didn't ever pursue it. It never happened. Maybe it'll happen one day. And I found that I needed community and support. And so I went into a business program. 6 months later, the universe literally brought me to the doorstep of the perfect business program for me at that time. And so I did that. And then now in my network, in the guides area, practitioners, coaches, whoever does a spiritual business, this is one of the reasons why I have it, is so that when someone gets knocked down and feels like that imposter syndrome or they're not good enough, they have community to come to say, yes, you are. Because I didn't have that. And had
Right.
I had that, that might have happened. And I could have changed 10 people's lives. Who knows? I'll never
Yeah.
know. So I just thought that
Ugh.
was so interesting that you literally brought that up. And I was like, that happened to me. Like
Yes.
it shut me down and I stopped. And now I at least can recognize it and still move forward and get the proper support, which I didn't know or not know that I was missing at the time.
Right. And so this is, I love that we're having this conversation. This is why I love having live conversations, because we have moments, and we named this episode conscious networking, right? The conscious part is we need to know what we're bringing to the conversation, right? And that includes bias, and it includes prior experience, and it includes all of these layers of being human that we have. And so just being aware of that is so important. There's absolutely a time for training, and there's absolutely a time for higher education, and there's absolutely things where we need to be qualified to do something because we can do harm, right? But there's so much power in owning what our strengths and gifts are and finding the community that can lift us up, because I hear that, like you're just saying, obviously I'm lifting you up. I'm not sitting here tearing you down being like, well, you need a degree to do that. Like, that's not, I don't believe that at all. I believe you need to have the experience, or what I think we need to go back to is apprenticeship, like focusing on apprenticeship. Like, and I went into two careers where that's really why I was going to school, right? Is to have an apprenticeship. To be a teacher, you apprentice, you have an internship. To be a therapist, you intern, you literally are seeing clients, right? Now I'm doing retreats. I'm literally pairing up with somebody who has been doing retreats for a long time, just because I know I have the skills to do it. But I love learning from other people who have been doing it, who have been in the lived and embodied experience. And that's what, you're sharing. Like, you have a lot of lived and embodied experience, and clearly have learned a lot along the way from the people that have helped along your path.
And still learning every day. I'm still an explorer myself, right? In business and in personal life,
Hmm.
in all aspects. Like I'm calling in my future husband and my future partner. And that is so scary because that's a new journey I'm going on. And I'm an explorer there. I'm starting fresh. Like I'm breaking patterns of dating unavailable men. And
You are the third person in like the last, I think, 3 months that I've talked to who is specifically trying to manifest their future husband.
ooh,
So clearly, like, we need the future husbands workshop to be going. Like, we got
yeah.
to get these men eligible and ready, because there are lots of very eligible and ready ladies who are looking for spiritual husbands.
Yeah, and what I see happening is I feel like women are how can I say this in the nicest way? They're moving forward and men are still waking up. So men need a lot of support and it's kind of that they're coming, but we need to help lift them up also. So
Yes.
there's a lot more women awakened in my experience than I see the divine masculine men awakened. Speaking specifically for a male female relationship.
Right, right. And I'm the queer spirit guide because I literally work with people of all kinds of relationships and gender identities and all of that. Taylor says she'll join the workshop, by the way. But yeah, there's a lot of just harm that's taking place in society right now because we have warped the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and
Mhm.
we've made it about something that it's not. because it's not actually about gender. It's not actually about relationships. It's about energy.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely agree. Like, we need to uplift everyone. That includes our men, our women, our non-binary people. We have to uplift everyone so that everyone's eligible. Right? Everyone's taking care of their stuff so we can have healthier relationships.
Yes, yes. And what I was trying to get at is I see a lot of men bashing because women are
Mhm.
hurt. And I think it's
Right.
women's responsibility to look inside themselves and heal that.
Yep.
You can look at any person, any race, any whatever. And that's where I go back to I focus on me and I do better. And it ripple effects out of how
Mhm.
I show up for other people. And I am responding rather than being reactionary or triggered. And I think that there hasn't been a lot of space available for men to be emotional, to learn, heal, and grow. And so I'm very much a proponent for men helping men. And one of the guides in my network, he's actually just about to start doing men's retreats. And I've been friending people on Facebook because I want to support that and I want to give men the space. Like, I don't know if this is okay to bring up, but I
Mhm.
saw in my experience and my journey of all these workshops I went to, there's a lot of men that have been sexually abused as kids. And
Yep.
we don't talk about that. Women, we talk about all the time, but not men. And there's probably equally as many men as there is women. And it's not okay for that. It's not to say it's not okay. It's just not as talked about and it's not as widely accepted. And I
Yeah.
think it's really like, sorry, we totally turned this serious, but like, I think this
We're
is why
super
I do what
serious.
I do is because we need everybody to be able to be supported and breaking the societal, like, be a
Yes.
man, don't cry,
Yes.
all these things. It's just more hurtful than it is helpful. And I just found out that someone else on my Facebook friends list took their life, another man. I don't know why, but what if he could have the space to open up to someone, and
Right.
to be there and say,
Yeah, and I like 100% resonance with everything that you're saying. In my career as a trauma therapist, I actually initially started working in a center for survivors of sexual trauma and domestic violence. And
mm-hmm,
absolutely, there are people of all genders across the board impacted by all of these things. And we're finally, thank goodness, starting to talk about it more with women, but we need to be talking about it more with everyone
yeah,
across the board. It's like in the this is something that I really work with as, my mantle of the queer spirit guide, because we're all different, right? And the word queer just means different. We're all different. Honoring that we are all different, but we do have a lot of shared experiences of trauma. And when we're trying to be inclusive, we want shared spaces and then we want subgroup spaces. We don't want to erase the subgroup spaces to make one giant space because each subgroup has its own intersection too. And so that's where, like, we need to talk about women. Yes, we need to talk about women. We need to talk about men. We need to talk about non men and women. We need to talk about everyone, but we can't erase it all down to everyone's impacted by this either, right? We need to talk about the specific groups. So it's like I'm just kind of putting this out there as all lives do matter, and each individual category in there deserves its acknowledgement along the way. And I think that you and I are on the same page there. Like,
absolutely.
everyone just needs to be lifted up. We're all human. We're
Yes.
all in this together.
Yeah, and what for me, I can only speak from my own experience. It's like I have primarily chosen female healers because what I realized is that I didn't feel safe with male
Mhm.
healers. And as I continue to do the work, now starting to be able to move there. And I feel like when I am moving there and doing that work, again, I'm creating that ripple effect. And I've done a healing now with a couple of men. And also I learn what discernment of what feels okay for me and what doesn't, and then to also be able to, when I'm kind of in the middle, to explore it and say, do I need to go out of my comfort zone or do I need to stay in the safety? And that discernment
Mhm.
is like I think one of the most important things. Like, am I ready to grow? Is it safe to grow? Do I push myself because I need that nudge? Or do I truly need this safe, like, stay safe right now? And knowing the
Yeah.
difference is kind of like that PowerPoint. Not
nervous
the
system.
presentation, the PowerPoint, like just the little dot PowerPoint.
Yes. Your nervous system needs to be able to handle whatever you're going to put it through, right? Because
Yes.
that's the choice of being an empowered adult, is we get to choose what situations we put ourselves into for the most part.
Yeah, let's talk about the nervous system real quick because I this came into my space a couple of years ago, so I went to a couple workshops on it, and the science stuff, my brain just says like I got past life trauma against science, and I don't retain that information.
I might too.
Yeah, no, I mean legit. Like I've had multiple like healers bring it up and be like, "Yeah, you were like a science guru in the past, and now you're like cutting it off because it was a bad experience." So I'm working on healing that. However, I found out how important and how impactful it is, and we're just not talking about it in school. At least when I went to school, it was a long time ago. I don't know about now,
I
but
taught in school less than 10 years ago.
still
We're
not.
not,
Yeah.
no.
And
So
it's like this controls everything. I was telling my friend a story yesterday, and I was like, wow, it's crazy that my body took over. I saw these kids when we were camping, and they kicked a ball at one of the peacocks. And I am an animal avid lover, and this is a private membership, and that is not acceptable behavior for being a member there. And without even skipping a beat, I went, hey, no. And I was just like, oh my God. And my nervous system and my anxiety went through the roof because I'm not a super confrontational person. And I was like, whoa, like my body, my nervous system, my body took over first, like fight, fright, or flight or freeze that I had no control. And then the backlash came. I even lost sleep over it. Like I had anxiety for the rest of the night in my sleep. I was like thinking about it. I was like, oh my gosh, like, did they hear me? I could have handled that so much better. But it's like, it was so automatic. And that's like the thing is that I don't know that people realize how much is stored in our body. So you can do the work, but you also have to do the somatic work with the body. And that's what I'm really getting into now for myself and bringing awareness to as well. Because there's all the bodies, there's the energetic, the mental, the emotional, spiritual, and then now the physical.
right.
Like doing modal, you asked earlier about modalities. I try to dabble in a little bit of all of them.
I'm basically the same way, and I love exploring the different bodies, and I've literally done these. So going back to body of 9, natural number 9 is my number. We have the biggest big picture vision of anyone because we can see it all. We literally contain the universe. It's very hard to explain unless you're a 9. If you're a 9, you're like, "Oh God, okay, I finally understand why I feel overwhelmed all the time." But anyway, I have these like sprawling just drawings about the universe and whatnot. And oh my gosh, my train of thought just derailed completely. Let me see if I can find it again. So I have ADHD. That's a fun fact about me. And I have this giant big picture, and that's a very fun fact about me. And yeah, so I'm always seeing these like overlaps in the world, and I'm like writing about them, and then I'll see them when I dabble in a healing modality. And I'm like, wait, I've never heard that before, but I wrote this in a notebook somewhere. So there's so much that learning can bring from like learning from other sources, but then when we really are spiritually sourced and we're aware of our different bodies, we can connect and literally align those to pull information down or access it however we uniquely do. And that was the point I was getting to is I literally have these drawings of the layers of bodies. And then I started dabbling in yoga and like really learning like true, not just like the whitewashed yoga classes. I know that's a stepping stone for some people and I'm not bashing it, but it goes way deeper than that. That's just the tip of the iceberg, right? Like the regular old yoga class is not getting into all the bodies. Fortunately, now we're getting there. We're bringing more of the layers in. But then I was like, oh, like I wrote about these 5 bodies before. It's there. Like there's these cool cosmic connections. So pulling this golden thread, that's I love the concept of the golden thread, that everything leads back to the same place. Like all the bodies go right back to the same core alignment source, and there we can get any information that we want. So you very clearly can source information. pretty easily.
Yes,
You've
and
mastered that.
I did not know this until like things just come out of my mouth. They're like, "Can you repeat that?" And I'm like, "No, actually, I can't."
No.
Yeah, I
I found
until
out.
I learned about the clairs, the intuition, as we were talking about earlier. I did not. I always wanted to be intuitive. I never realized I actually was. And
Mhm.
as I do more work, I am finding that I become more and more intuitive. And also, as I surround myself by people who have their unique gifts, that my gifts expand and also evolve, and I get new gifts too. And so, claircognizance is my primary. And I'm like, "Ugh, so is this a thought or is this intuition?" Like, I'm still learning, and I've been doing it for a long time. So,
Mhm.
yeah,
You're constantly growing, expanding, and learning.
yeah,
It never ends.
it never ends.
And we're always getting to know more layers and layers of ourselves.
Yeah, yes. I want to ask you, which one of these has the quiz? I want to take the quiz now.
The Starketype?
Oh, the Starketype. Okay. The
Yeah.
body of nine sounds so cool too. I'm so
So
excited.
yeah, body of 9, I'll just let you know a little bit about that right now. I'm gonna try and
Can you like tell, like, look at someone and already know their body of nine?
I am learning. So I am a practicing partner. It's
Mhm.
harder for me online
Of course,
because
yeah.
A, online, we're here.
Yes.
So when we go to identify people, what we're looking at is if we are doing it online versus in person, there's a slightly different process. In person, we put our hands on our shoulders, we make eye contact, we do some gentle movements because we're trying to isolate where in the body has resistance or where it leads from or pivots from. It's all these different little micro things. Online, we can't touch, so we have to instead like look into the camera, look at the breathing, have you turn sideways, do some movements, things like that, and then we can determine. My mentors, like I said, have identified, they say over 8,000, I say over 10,000 because I like to give them a boost. I think it's way more than they think it is. But they have worked with at least 1,000 people of each natural number where they've been able to hone in on what is physiologically different about that type of body. And then they're able to bring that knowledge to working with other people. So yes, I'm practicing. But yeah, if you want to, there are group identification sessions where you can hop online because they're in Montana. I'm in Maryland. There's only I think 4 or 5 other practitioners in the world that are doing this work right now, aside from the Body of Nine brand, which is why no one's heard of it. But it's life changing, especially for parents. And the group identifications are pretty affordable. If you want a private session, you can have a private session with you, your family members, your partner, your kids, so you can all get to know each other's natural numbers and how they intersect right then and there. It's it has changed so like Stark type is fun. If there was one thing though that I could be like, everyone needs to go find this because everyone can access this, not just the woo people. It's Body of Nine because it's literally tangible. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you feel someone else's number, because that's one of the other really cool things, and I'm getting ready to start teaching, is that you can activate all other 8 numbers in your own body because they're places we all have. It's here, so 7, 5, 1, 3, 2 is down in the like the lower ribs, 6, 9, and then 4 is like the lower belly area going down into the pelvis, and 8 is the sacrum, so the back of the body. And you can activate them and get them in the actual postural activation, but you can't undo how the face has developed and how the rib cage and such have developed. That happened over time.
Oops, I muted. I was wondering because I'm like, well, I feel like some of my facial, like my eye contact and stuff, it's affected or impacted by my trauma.
Hmm.
So is that kind of how it works? It's like this is how we developed in our meat suit, as you called it, which I
Yeah,
love.
like and our bodies go through trauma, and that can
Mhm,
make us our nature shut down. Sometimes we
mhm.
literally shut down around our trauma. So natural number 1, when they are open, and natural number one's gift is like deep connection, deep soul connection, awe and wonder and beauty, and the light and the dark all at once. And it's a lot, but they make this deep receptive eye contact, and they lift their chins up because they're activating the muscles right here. And they do
Mm.
this naturally. No one else does this naturally, this tilt. And when they've had a lot of trauma, a lot of times they'll literally, like, that's how they shut down, versus another natural number might shut down in a different way, like by collapsing the chest or by collapsing, um, the hips, like hinging over the middle. So there's all these different tells that we look for when we are trying to figure out someone's number. But it's the quality of the eye contact. There's 9 different ways eyes look. Like, one's when they're activated are soft and diffusive. Two is very sparkly and alive and like right there with you. Three is intense. It's like piercing and energetic. It's like a jolt of eye contact. Four is like soft and dreamy and emotional. Um, Five tends to be constantly darting and taking in information. Like, they're always looking everywhere. They also roll their eyes up a lot and access. They hold frameworks of the world, by the way. Six eyes tend to be very sharp and like also can be kind of piercing, but in like more of a studying you way. Seven eyes are soulful, like very emotional and soulful. Taylor Swift's a natural number seven. Most people can picture Taylor Swift's like soulful eyes. Eights, their eyes are like resolute. They're very round and resolute. And nine eyes tend to look blank. Mine tend to look kind of expressionless, unless I'm really strongly holding a particular emotion or trying to exude that. So yeah, we're looking at all those things.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. When you were talking, because I was like, oh, I always look up a lot and I look around, but that's a trauma response too. I'm constantly scanning my scenery, like, is there a fight? Is there a conflict? Is there something? So I don't know if I would be a true number five. I know my eyes get really lit up, but it's only if I'm excited by something. And
Yeah.
so I was like, could be number two. So, anyways, it's really cool. And I love that
Yeah.
you implement this into your coaching, and
It makes a world of difference.
I bet. Yeah. Is the you said they do group online ones that people can jump into? Is that something that is it paid? Is it free? How would people find
They're
it?
paid. So the group identifications online are $45. You drop in, they're usually about an hour and a half session, and you get to know your natural number as well as the other people on the call. So it's a good introduction to seeing what other different people's bodies are doing.
Yeah.
And also to kind of get that conversation to really assess, like, did we get you right? It's, I always try to say, you can't be 100% accurate with anything. It's slightly less accurate online because we don't have that like physical.
Yeah.
But unless you're really stuck between like the head, because some of the head numbers can be a little harder to tell movement online versus in person. But otherwise, we're usually about 90 to 95% accurate online.
Mm.
And so you get to see, like, there's certain movements that only certain natural numbers can do without training.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
so interested. You'll
So
have to
the
come back
best
on my platform and talk about it even more.
I would love to talk more about it and give an overview of the numbers at some point. Yeah, the best way to find that is to go to our Living Lunas website. So if you go to livinglunas.com/body of the number 9, body of 9, that will lead you right to when the upcoming group calls are as well, if you scroll down to the bottom. So
Thank you for
yeah,
sharing that.
absolutely. It's really, really cool and life-changing. And again, if there was one group of people that I could impact with it, it would be parents.
Yeah.
I'm not a parent. Well, I'm an angel parent, and a fur parent, but I'm not a parent to a current child, but I see it everywhere. The parents that know their kids' natural numbers are parenting beautifully. Like,
Mhm.
because they're nurturing the child to their nature instead of nurturing the child to their nature. And it makes a world of difference.
Makes
So,
sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'm not a parent yet either, so.
but it makes a world of difference in romance too. I'll say that.
Oh,
So,
I'm sure.
for
Yeah.
everyone out there trying to find their husband, you need
Yeah.
to find out your natural number and make sure you don't date anyone of natural numbers that were your parents, or you will relive all of that trauma. That's another fun.
I'm like, now that's where you could make some money,
It sure
and give
is.
some good service out there that if you offer that
Relationship
people.
coaching. I do relationship help with natural numbers because I mean,
Okay.
they all have their own little dynamics that are just fun. So yes, obviously, sorry to derail a little there with Body of Nine. It's super fun stuff. I'm so glad you're interested in it. I'd love to talk about it more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd love to come over on your platform and have a conversation. This I think was a great first meeting. Seems like some of our viewers got some great things out of it,
Yeah.
and
I think
we
it's a
both
great concept too. So if people are just tuning in or miss the beginning, we don't know each other. This is like our little connection call. So I call them connection calls. And I was telling Safrianna earlier that on connection calls, I'm like, gosh, this was so good. This would have been so good on my interview. And so when you proposed this idea, I was like, heck yeah, like how fun
let's
would
just
this
do it.
be? Yes. And I'm like, I might adopt this also if that's okay with you. It's super fun.
I mean, I'm at the point where I have so many networking contacts that I'm like, I know I want to talk with you. I want to network with you, but I'm so about giving value to as many people as I possibly can
Yeah.
all at once to streamline things and simplify things. That yeah, if they're willing to just hop on a call like this, like I appreciate you for being the first one to be willing to do this. It's
Oh, am
something
I
I'm
the first
offering
one?
now to do it in this way. Yes, because everyone else was like, I'd rather meet you first. And I'm like, okay, I get that. But like, you were willing to just go with it. And, you know, what's the worst thing that could have happened? We had a cruddy conversation and we never talked again.
Yeah.
And other people go, wow, how awkward. But this was not what happened. We had a lovely conversation. We have so many parallels. And I'm hoping we'll have future conversations about how we can collaborate together.
Heck yeah. And thank you for I did not realize I was the first one. So that's even more cool for me. I love that. Michael from my community, he said he loves this. So that's very cool. Yeah, and here's the thing. What I like about the concept of this is when people come on my platform, I tell some stories and stuff, but it's not 50-50. It's more I'm highlighting them and what they have to offer to whoever's watching. And I am huge into signs and synchronicities, and the universe is always aligning for us and everybody watching. But this is fun because your audience gets to know you in a different way based on how this conversation goes, and they might learn new fun facts about you or see you in a different light, and you get to reshare so that they get to people who might be new to your space get to constantly get to know you a little bit better. In my opinion, anything of the world of working together or being in the energy of each other is the know, like, and trust factor. And just by you showing up and sharing yourself every time, people get to know, like, and trust you more and know if you are their cup of tea and if it's a good fit to work together. So I think it's brilliant as you drink your cup of tea with butterflies. I know, and I love your background too. It's so cute.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm doing a butterfly immersion right now as an experience that people can go through. And we're on the caterpillar week, and we're all in our shadows and doing our trauma reprocessing work and looking at all the negative stories we've consumed and whatnot. So I have been looking forward to the butterfly week when we're all going to feel good again.
Yeah,
it's part of the journey.
I feel like in that solar eclipse energy, man. Whew. Well, I did just get back from Mount Shasta, so also that's a super powerful place, and I feel like weird stuff's been happening ever since. But so I was like, is it the Mount Shasta energy or is it the solar eclipse? And I'm like, I think it's both. To be honest,
probably both.
Yeah,
it's probably all of the above. That's usually the answer, is all of the above.
Yes, all the above. That's what I love to say.
Yes,
that was always the answer in school. Is it all the above? Most likely. So, yeah, this is so fun. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. Obviously, our websites are right here on the video. So if you want to follow up with either of us, both of us, keep the conversation going, come join our community spaces. Jennifer's got an awesome networking call going on tonight that I can't make. Unfortunately, I have date night, but yay date night. And hopefully we'll make these calls in the future. But it sounds like you're always offering opportunities to build community, and so are we. So
yes, yeah, I can't wait to learn more about your community as well. And what I'm really trying to hone in on is how can we all highlight the communities, and someone called it crossover events the other day, like, you know, on television, like prime time, when they have like two really popular shows and they do a crossover event. And if
Right.
you watch the shows, it's so super fun because you get to see all your favorites together. And someone was like, we should have a crossover event between our communities. And I was like, oh, that'd be so fun and cool. And
I
then,
love that.
you know, we get to, it's a win-win-win for everybody. So yeah,
Yes.
we'll have to talk about that. That'll be good.
We all get to win.
Mm-hmm.
We all get to win.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, everyone who's watching this live or who's watching it on the replay. And I don't know how you end your things.
That you just did it for me. Thank you. I
I'm
love
sorry.
that. I didn't have to say it for once. I didn't have to remember. No, thank you. Yes, you know the drill.
I know the drill.
Reach out
Yes.
if you need us. All right. Thanks so
Thanks, everyone.
much.